Hi, this is Kate from the Traverse Area District Library, and today I wanted to teach you how to knit. Now, the reason I think that it's important how to knit is it kind of ties in with a whole bunch of other things that are going on right now in our community and in our world. People kind of want to get back to self-sustainability and taking care of themselves. And knitting is an old-fashioned way to take care of yourself because it was necessary to make sweaters and socks for your family. But we were able to get away from taking care of ourselves with all of the industrialization and other things that people that have kind of seen a resurgence in popularity in the last few weeks, interestingly, have been baking bread. If you go to the store, you really will have a hard time finding flour or yeast. And I've also read a few articles that talk about how popular it is now and how this summer is going to be really important to plant a garden and have self-sustainability. In old times, people used to plant victory gardens during the war and during various wars, actually. And victory gardens were a way to help take the strain off the food supply and provide for ourselves. Well, we're not going to garden today, but I do want you to stop by the seed library when the library is finally open again. And we have a wonderful seed sharing library for you to be able to start your own garden. But that might not be this spring, but maybe hopefully this summer. I'm not going to teach you how to bake bread on here either, but I am going to teach you how to knit. So in this next series of videos, you will learn what knitting looks like. That's this first video. And you will learn how to cast on a project, start a project. You'll learn how to knit, which is one of the stitches. It's called knit in knitting. And the other stitch is called purl. You'll also learn how to purl. So I hope you enjoy these videos that I'm making for you, and I hope that you can take your mind off of a little bit of the anxiety of the world and go to a different headspace and enjoy yourself. Okay, now for the elephant in the room. I'm gonna share my screen, but to be honest, okay, here's what happened. I was going on vacation and then my vacation got canceled. But just before I was going on vacation and before it canceled, I treated myself to a manicure with this dip stuff, and I can't get it off my nails now because it has to be grinded off my nails or something. So I usually don't have my nails done, but now they look really bad. So I just thought I'd just face it and tell you that here we go. I'm gonna share my screen. You're gonna see what I'm dealing with. I know that you're all dealing with different things, your hair color and your own nail manicures, but yep, there we go. So that's out of the way. Okay, now I feel better and I don't have to hide it. Okay, this is a sample of knitting, and this little sample shows you, and it's a demonstration of what the two different kinds of fabric you can make are called. One type of fabric that you can make is called garter, and it's called garter stitch, and it makes a certain kind of fabric where both sides of the fabric are knitted with the knit stitch. And stockinette or stocking stitch is the other kind of fabric that you'll be able to make after these series of courses. And stockinette is made by knitting one side of the fabric and purling on the other side of the fabric. I'll tell you what this means. Now, knits make little V's. They're kind of like the smoother stitch. And in this example, you can see that all these tiny little V's, like this, all these little V's, these are made by doing the knit stitch. These little bumps are made by doing the purl stitch. Now, the opposite of a knit is a purl. So if all of these are smooth on the front, I would expect to see all bumps on the back. And it's all bumps on the back. This would be purl, and this would be knit again. So there's only two basic stitches, and knitting is a combination of how many knits you do together and how many purls you do together, and how you put them together in your pattern to get the kind of fabric that you are trying to make. So if I'm looking at this sample, this little part where it's all bump, 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 is all knitted, which is a little strange to think because I just told you that knits are smooth. Well, if you knit on both sides, if you yank this fabric open a little bit, you are able to see, well, you can see it better here. You're able to see that all those smooth little V's are in between the bumps. So there's a row of knits here. Then I turned the fabric over and I knitted again. And by knitting on the other side, bumps come to this side. I'll show you what I mean in just a second. But this is called garter stitch, where you see bump, bump, bump. And if you, like I said, if you pull it open, you can see where the little V's are in between there. They're just kind of hidden when it squishes together. And this is called stockinette stitch or stocking stitch. I'm going to show you in this video what it looks like to knit. So I put some stitches on my needles, and this is what it looks like. I think it's important for you to know what you're doing before you try to learn how to do it. This is the knit stitch. I'm going to knit these. When knitting, and this is not your learning video of how to knit, this is just this is like an overview of what the stitches look like and what you get from it so that you can read your fabric. So I will knit and show you. All of your stitches are always, no matter if you're right or left-handed, I would urge you to learn the right-handed way. I'm right-handed, but I've taught many, many left-handed people how to knit, and they're very successful doing the right-handed way. If you're a left-handed person and you want to learn to knit left-handed, then you will always have to transpose your patterns to fit for you. Everything will be backwards in the pattern world. Okay, so when you knit, you always start with all your stitches in the left hand and they end up moving over to the right hand. Now, if you look very closely at what I just knitted, right up against the needle, as in right here, you will see that it is very smooth right up against the needle. And you may not understand what I mean until I flip this over, and I'll show you what I mean by it not being smooth. So if I were to turn this over and show you, I knitted on the front side, and on the back side will be the opposite, will be purls. Purls will show up, which are bumps or little turtlenecks, I say. So each of these stitches has a little turtleneck on it. Okay, even if you pull it apart and pull it down, you do not see the V's, you see little bumps. Now, I will show you again on the front side. Those little V's again. So here they are. They don't have the little covering over the bottom of the stitch. So we'll call these V-necks. And if I were to take one of these little V-necks, the reason it looks like a V is kind of interesting. It's when it squishes together, it looks more like a V. And I think I can show you on this piece better what I'm talking about. If I take one stitch, a stitch is just one loop inside of another loop. So if you pull this apart, you can see, let's get it nice and far apart for us. You can see that this is one stitch, but, oh, sorry, that wasn't a good example. This is one stitch here, and this part is going to be hidden when the fabric squishes back together. Watch where it goes. It kind of goes to the other side. That was the bump. Okay, so what you're really seeing is something like this. You are seeing one leg of the stitch and another leg of the stitch, and then that part I pulled through the fabric is still connected here to these two legs, but it's hanging out in the back of the fabric. So you can't see it, But so what we're really talking about in each stitch is more like a horseshoe. Oh, whoa. More like a horseshoe shape like this. But you just can only see this part of the leg and this part of the leg, the two parts of the stitches. So the two parts are connected by the part you can't see, and this is one stitch. And the parts you do see are the little V. So that's why we call them stitches that are, we call them V's instead of the turtlenecks. Now I'm going to knit on the other side. I'm going to knit. Now I've knit the front. I'm turning it over. I have all of my stitches in the left hand, and they will end up on the right hand. So the stitches from the left needle are going to keep moving up, up, up in this direction, up and off, and they will build onto the right needle on and downward. So watch just the process. Then in the next video, you'll learn how to actually cast on and start a project. So we go in, we wrap, always counterclockwise. The needle that you put in is the one that you wrap, counterclockwise. And then that little part that you wrapped is hiding under there, and you just want to pull it through the loop. It's just one loop inside another loop. So watch again. Into the old stitch, wrap it. Now that wrap has to come through. It's kind of like hiding under there. Oh, there it is right there. If it's on the new stitch, then we can get rid of the old stitch. You can still see where the old stitch is. It's this last loop. That's the last one. Do you see how it curls around like this? It's a loop within another loop, and that's what knitting is. So I'm going to continue to demonstrate knitting, and then I'll show you what purl looks like and how it's the opposite. Now, I just knitted. There are no little turtlenecks on here. If you knit every row, you will get a fabric called garter stitch. It looks like this. That looks like bumps on both sides, but again, if you pull it apart, you'll see that there are little V's in between. So I have knit, knit, knit each side, each row. There are the V's. What's expected on the back? The bumps, the little turtlenecks. And that one below all those little turtlenecks, all those little smooth V's, are the first row that I knit. So if I knit on one side and knit on the other side, I'm going to get actually bumps on both sides. Now, most people like their sweaters to look sort of like smooth all the time like this, and it's less popular to have a sweater made from fabric that looks like bumps all the time. Mostly when you get a sweater, if you look up really close at your knitted garments, they are in stocking stitch or stockinette stitch, which is this. This is knit a row and then purl a row. So I'll show you now. I've already knit a row. Now I'm going to purl. So the needle goes in. Instead of going up and to the back, the yarn is to the front and the needle goes down. We wrap the right hand needle counterclockwise again. Oh, my hand is blocking. It's kind of hard to do it and not block the camera. Counterclockwise, wrap. And now instead of going dipping under to pull that loop through, we just want to pull it up and get that loop through. That's a purl. And it makes a little turtleneck right at the base of the stitch. Again, it goes in, around, under, and off. So let's see, I lost my focus. Well, I didn't, the dot cam did. It goes in, around, under. We're just bringing that looped piece of yarn underneath and off the edge of the needle. So I'm going to finish purling this side. Then we can look at how the fabric is building. It's building down and down and down. We're moving upwards. The next row will be on top of this, and then the next row will be on top of this. Or you can think of it either as building up this way, or and at the same time, it's kind of coming down here. The new fabric is coming down. So let's see what we got here. Now, I had a row of knit. I had this row of knit, and I just did this row of purl. So if I turn it over, that means I did a row of knit and a row of purl. Okay, if I turn it over, you're gonna see that the fabric looks different now. It looks like all the smooth V's are lined up right on top of each other. Or this is a loop inside another loop, inside what will be another loop. I don't know if you can see, I hope you can see, I'm right smack in the middle of one loop. I can see one leg of it and the other leg of it, but the part that I can't see is around the back. One loop with this loop intertwined. So this is just an introduction to what it looks like to knit and what it looks like to purl. And in my next video, I'll show you how to cast on, and we'll be on our way to making stuff. Thanks for watching.